Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Fly With Us podcast. This podcast is bringing the art of conversation, self love, self care, mental health care and protection, life lessons, love lessons, and everything in between. I'm Lady Bounce,
And I am Picket Fence.
and today we're going to talk about motivation and mentors. Picky, you got the mindfulness minute.
Yes. If you want to identify me, ask me not where I live or what I like to eat or how I comb my hair, but ask me what I am living for. In detail, ask me what I think is keeping me from living fully the thing that I want to live for. And added on to that is the end of a melody is not its goal. But nonetheless, had the melody not reached its end, it would not have reached its goal either. Word up.
Word up. So we have with us a special guest, and Pickett, I will let you do the intro.
Today, our special guest is Brian McComb, who is a mentor and motivational speaker for our youth. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Word up.
Thank you for having me.
So let's dive into this mentoring thing. What motivated you to be a mentor and motivational speaker?
The mentor piece, I'll answer that first. So, when I, as a youth, my pops was absent. I didn't have really any positive role models to look up to. I didn't know that though. I didn't know that I was desiring that until I encountered individuals, more so male figures, who spoke into my life and who were positive examples, who believed in me, who used their words to build me up. Specifically, this guy by the name of Evans. Mr. Evans is what I called him. He reminded me of the chef off of South Park. I kid you not. And so when I was locked up in Dorothy Lee as a youth, I remember his exact words were, before I left my last day, he said to me, "You don't belong in here." And when he said that, it was like a light bulb went off in my head, but I didn't know exactly what he meant until later on when it was time for me to write my essay to attend Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. I began to write about the power of words and how his words changed my life, so much so that a light bulb went off in my head. And that's when I realized I'm better than how I've been acting. I can become more, and I'm not my past. That's the mentor piece. So that incident with Evans and many more, but specifically that individual opened up my eyes to the power of words and why I should become a mentor. Motivation speaking kind of ties into that too, because I realized the power of words on that day that are later on throughout my life that his words had on me, which led me to realize, wait a minute, if he can do this, I can do this, right? And so I began to craft my message. Be yourself because you have purpose, into many different messages. And from there, I saw the results of my words and the results of my encounters with youth, as evidence them coming back to me and say, "Hey man, you said this," and it really opened up my mind. It really helped me to see that I can become more. And then that's when I came to the realization, wait a minute, I should start traveling and speaking. And then that's when I took on the label of being a motivational speaker or being known as a motivational speaker. And that's the short end. That's the short end of it. It was an individuals, but specifically that man, Mr. Evans, who changed my life with his words on my last day of being locked up as a youth.
Word up. Word up. I like that. Now, what is your main message that you want to give the youth?
My main message. I think be yourself because you have purpose, but in conjunction with that, the power, I want them to see how powerful they are, by teaching them how powerful positive thoughts are, right? So we tend to worship celebrities, right? As if that is the standard that we're supposed to reach. And so my one of my goals is to help youth to realize, wait a minute, you realize you have that same potential inside of you in the form of a positive thought. And if you act on that positive thought, whatever it may be, to be successful, to overcome pain, to overcome being ignorant to a particular subject, or if you want to become an entrepreneur, tell yourself, right? Start to think like an entrepreneur. And over time, you will begin to manifest actions and behaviors that would lead you to acting like an entrepreneur, to manifest in the business. Because it's how it started for me, a positive thought. I deserve that. I believe that in that, I'll say a couple years ago, I had thought to myself, wait, I can be a business owner. What does that look like? And I began to ask myself thoughts. I began to talk to myself, whatever, and write down visions and goals. And it was that one positive thought that led me to start BMC Movement. And then from there, I started to realize, wait, if I can think positive and refuse to give up on my goal and my dream, I can manifest anything. And so that's part of my goal. And I didn't have to change me, right, to become an entrepreneur. I'm simply being myself by manifesting BMC Movement LLC, by manifesting Me Clothing. Nobody told me to do this but me. And so it goes back to what I was saying earlier. I want youth to come to this realization, help them to come to this realization. You do not have to be somebody else to be successful. Just be yourself. Be yourself and be successful.
Or I like that. I like that a lot. And how does a youth discover who they really are?
I think coming to the realization that they exist for a reason. I think that's what it all boils down to, is coming to the realization that, hey, I am who I am for a reason, right? So like when I typically talk to youth, I ask them this question. I say, hey, did you actually be here? They say no. I said, then that alone, the fact that you didn't actually be here, right, to let you know that you exist for a reason, right? Who you are, you exist as that individual for a reason. Right? The past that you have, it is yours for a reason. Now what you have to do is learn how to turn your message into a story, right? Take that pain, is what I've done, because Me Clothing exists as a result of coming to the realization, wait a minute, there's not enough of us that are entrepreneurs. So how can I start a movement, put it in the form of something tangible that some people can wear and be inspired in order to show them, hey, one of the best ways to give your community is through entrepreneurship, because can't nobody tame you. You can be your own creator. Right? You can't be limited when you are your own boss or your own CEO or creator. So then I created Me Clothing. And before I created Me Clothing, I created BMC Movement. And so in the grand scheme of things, that's what it's all about for me. That's what it's all about for me. Helping them to see you can do the same thing. Like, yo, you can do the same thing. Just believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, right? And you have to, and that starts with realizing I am who I am for a reason. That's it.
So for me, as somebody who also worked with our youth, in my day job, I'm an intervention specialist, which means I teach students with special needs. But because I work in a high school, I'm responsible for servicing the entire school building. So even those students who don't have identified disabilities, I have to work with those students too. So when it comes to like our high school students who don't trust easily, they don't believe that the things that you're saying. So when they say, well, Mr. Brian, I hear you, but what's your response?
What is my response? My response would be, off the top of my head right now, my response would be, if I was in that situation, I think things would be different because of my energy and because of my interactions. But based off your question now, I see myself telling them or encouraging them and helping them to see that, hey, it all starts with writing your goals down. I understand that, hey, you want to see results. I get it. But how about you give yourself a chance? I hold them accountable, right? And the reason I'm holding them accountable is because they gave me a but, right? And so with me holding them accountable to writing goals and showing them, hey, anything is impossible. Anything is possible, right? Anything is possible. And there's an activity that I do. It's called You Cannot Obtain What You Can't See. So I always use money during this activity because youth love money, right? We all love money. So I put $1 in my hand, right? And I say, hey, grab this $1 from me. And they grab it from me. And I asked them the question, why was you able, or how was you able to grab that from me? They said, because you gave it to me. I said, I didn't give you nothing. You took it. You took this from me. And I asked them, how was you able to take this $1 from me out of my hand? They say, because you gave it to me. I say, no, because you were able to see it. And then I follow up with the message, you cannot obtain what you can't see. So the reason you don't have what you want in life is because you can't see it yet. And the reason you have a but right? The reason you're giving me a but an excuse is because you are making excuses. And I do it all in a compassionate, loving way. I set the stage for it. I don't just come off like that, right? I don't come because I don't want youth to see me as someone who's reached my pinnacle. That's not me, right? Whenever I speak to a youth, I want them to discover who they are. And I do that by meeting them where they are. And so during that activity, I help them to see that you can obtain what you can't see. And then I hold them accountable to writing down at least one goal. So that's how I've learned to reach them where they are in that state of mind. I hear you, but now we about to move past that because I'm gonna show you you can obtain what you can't see. And then I leave them with that money, and the result has been consistent. You know, them certain youth, the ones who want things out of life during that season of their life, because I think all of them want some, they just got to see that inspiration. They come back to me, or the teacher emails me, or whoever it is that they have as a point of contact, reach out to me and say, hey, that activity and your message changed their life, right? Help them to see that regardless of their past, they can still obtain what they can see. I mean, they can attain whatever they want out of life if they write down their goals. So that's what I've used in the past to help them to get past that part.
Word, I like that a lot. I like that a whole lot. So for youth that don't get a hold of it quick, what are some tools as adults that we can use to reach them and say, hey, to help them, like you said, but is an excuse. Mm-hmm. What are some tools that other adults, their teachers, their parents can say to get past that but? How can other teachers and elders in their lives get past their but?
I would say there isn't necessarily like a one fix all, because every youth is different. Every youth is in a different season of life. But I will say this, because remember I told you earlier, when I was at one of my lowest points in life, it was one man's words that changed my life. His words changed my life, and his treatment towards me helped me to see that I still have worth and value. So ultimately, it's not until those youth see that they still have worth and value, regardless of their past, that then they will be able to take responsibilities for their action. So I would say continue to be encouraging to the youth, continue to use your words in a positive way to redevelop their mindset, right? Because ultimately, their mindset is not what we would want it to be, as in like more positive than negative for whatever reasons. But again, it was one man's words who changed my life. So whoever it is that's constantly around this youth, constantly build them up, constantly speak life into them, constantly speak to them as if, you know, once you find out what their goals are, you know, call them entrepreneur, call them leader, call them whatever it is that they want to become, or whatever it is that you see in them, call them that individual or that thing, and hold them accountable to that. Right. And it'll forever change their life. There's not necessarily, again, like a one-off fix-all, but I know for a fact it is words. Words have power. Words have power. And it can change anybody's life. Anybody's life.
Definitely.
So I caught a piece of your visit when you visited Dayton Leadership Academy. You know, of course, Brother Marlon. Shout out to Brother Marlon.
Jack.
You know, he's always a champion for our youth. So when he calls on me to do something, I don't even ask, you know, what. I'm like, where do you need me to be? And I just show up. And Pickett is the same way. And even though he's not as boisterous when it comes to working with the youth as I am, it just feels like if Brother Shaq calls on you, then you just show up and you show out because he called. So in catching some of that visit, it was very powerful. I heard the youth, you know, responding to you and cheering you on. So one of the things that you said that really stuck out to me, you know, being a female who is a little fluffy in some places, but to remind, you know, our young boys especially, that your wife is not going to look like Kim Kardashian. Your wife is not going to look like Saweetie and Nicki Minaj. And it's okay. So basically the point of what you were saying was to set realistic goals and expectations for your life. And I think that is so important, that we not destroy their dreams, but to get them, instead of reaching way up here out of the stratosphere where they could never get to, we put something right in front of them that's more attainable. So
More
aside,
realistic.
yeah, more realistic, more, yeah. So when you're delivering that kind of message, of course it is well received. But what are some of the after effects that you've noticed from giving that real kind of advice? Like, hey, it's okay to be right here.
Mm-hmm. A number of different things, depending on the age, the youth. I'll put it to you like this: as a result of talks in the past, I've taken on the responsibility of mentoring several youth, whom I still mentor today. Some of them model my clothing line, so again, I give them an outlet, right? Because clothing they love, and I would say some of them will come up to me and say, "Man, it felt like I was in church." Right? I
I
feel like
felt
God.
like that.
Yeah. And so some of them would say to me, or even be vulnerable with me to the extent that there was one time I spoke at a school here, a trade school here, I'll say this year, either last year. This young lady came up to me and she said, "I want to tell you something." She said, "I ain't told nobody this." She said, "But as a result of you speaking about your past with suicidal thoughts and how you overcame that, I want to share with you that last night I was in the process of slitting my wrists." And she introduced me to her friend who she called over to her house, and he saved her life because she's about to slit. So again, my message has a different effect on the youth who are receptive to the message, right? Who receive the message, right? It meets them where they are, and the results are whatever it is whatever feeling that they act upon. Whether it be being vulnerable, whether it being, "Hey, you want to be my mentor? Can you be my mentor?" And if I'm not able to because of my responsibilities, I always connect them to a youth organization that I'm connected with and in partnership with, so that they don't feel like, "Man, I didn't stepped out, was vulnerable, and this guy rejected me." I do my best to be very careful, to be attentive to that youth in that moment. So the results are different, but they're always positive in the sense that you've changed my life. You helped me. Thank you for helping me to see my potential. Thank you for inspiring me. I want to do what you do, and I'm always meeting them in return. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
Word up. And a thing that we talk about a lot on our program, especially when it comes to the youth and millennials, young adults, is that they're up against a lot of anti-programming, or programming that is different than positivity. You have a
Mhm.
lot of reality shows, a lot of music that don't reflect a positive message. So they get a lot of messages that are not so positive and reflecting of the life they live. And I think
Mhm.
for people like you and Lady Bounce, you're up against a real hard task when it comes to getting your message to the youth, because of so many different outlets, media, videos, music, that are saying a different message. So
Yeah.
how do we, us, you, Lady Bounce, and other mentors, make sure that our message gets to the youth, or is a higher viewage to the youth who need it?
I would say always be yourself, because we can all relate to youth, right? They're going through similar things that we're going through. Just we're just going through them on an adult level, if that makes sense, right? They still got the same pressures that they got, and so I think articulating your message um, in such a way that it meets them where they are, meaning you're constantly transparent, you're constantly vulnerable, right? And then most importantly, you're not forcing them to listen, right? You're holding them accountable to the message, right? You're making it. So what I do is, whenever I speak to a youth or a group of youth, I always let them know, "Hey, I apologize if I'm late." Again, showing them, "Hey, I'm human." And this is how I open up the door and get them to receive my message, right? And I introduce myself, right? I ask them what they like. "Hey, what's your name? What's your favorite food?" Right? I open them up. I just don't go in and start talking. I let them know that, "Hey, I care about you." Right, and then that opens up the door. I don't know why this series is going on. Then that opens up the door for me to come in and be transparent and vulnerable with my message in such a way that it's in line with the results that you asked me about, Ms. Bounce. So that's what I do. Just be myself, be transparent, be vulnerable, staying in tune with the youth culture, by staying on social media, being on social media from time to time, mentoring the youth that I mentor. In other words, staying connected to the youth so that I know how to craft my message, an authentic message that will reach the youth when that time comes for me to speak. Like when Shaq asked me to speak at Dayton Leadership Academy, I was able to craft a message in that moment a couple of days before because of what I was going through, because of what I was overcoming, and I took that and then I summarized it down to what I knew youth or believed that youth needed to hear, and it was simple. That whatever message that was, and I posted it on my social media, what my message was about, and it was about basically I used the chameleon. And I taught them how to use their environment, right? Adapt like a chameleon. Don't change who you are, but learn how to adapt to your environment to reach your destination. Everybody can relate to that. And I just gave them a personal life story that required me to be transparent and vulnerable. And it was something that they could relate to. It was visual. It was simple. It was straight to the point. I was being myself. I was being funny. I was putting youth on blast, such as, hey, I need somebody to answer this question, right? I need a leader to step up. Right, calling them into their destiny. You're a leader. You're this. You're that. And it's just how what's worked for me, especially positive affirmations. So, yeah. Hopefully that answered it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that summed it up, and I think that they need more of people like you and Lady Bounce, who, like you said earlier, is that you tap into youth culture so that you're able to correspond with them in a better way. Me myself, I that's difficult for me, which I'm not in the position that you and Lady Bounce are, interacting directly with the youth, and I commend you for that, because a lot of pop culture is not my thing. I try to live outside the world. So that's why I commend people like you, Lady Bounce, and Big Shaq, who are directly involved with youth, because that's something that you have to do. Even though you live in a positive light, you have to sometimes interact, or at least be in the know of pop culture and the youth culture. Which like I said, I commend you all who do that, because that's something that you have to do. You kind of have to step away from the life that you are in, and not necessarily experience, but at least be in the know of the culture that they're living in.
And I use their culture actually, like for example, there was one time I spoke about goals, and I asked them, what's some of your distractions? And I said, I know a lot of y'all in here listen to, and I asked them this question, what are some of your favorite rappers? And then I held them accountable to that question. I said, now let me ask you this. That rapper that you listen to, do they take time out to encourage you? Do they take time out to give back to your community? Or are you just consuming, the resources that they give you, which again is mostly negative information, which is preventing you from reaching your goals? Right? So I don't judge them, I hold them accountable. Right? I hold them accountable to what they're putting in their mind. Is this helping you reach it? I know you like the music, right? I'm not telling you who or what to listen to, but at the same time, you said you want to be very successful and you believe that you have worth and value. But look at what you're putting in your mind. It's distracting you, it's preventing you from reaching your destiny. So again, go back to the accountability piece that everybody can relate to, and we can't run from it. So instead of them leaving feeling judged, they're leaving like, dang, this guy believed in me. Like he worded this message in such a way that he didn't judge me. He held me accountable to reach my potential, unlike this rapper is doing. Right? So, yeah.
Or I like that.
Well, I have to agree with that 100,000%, because when I talk to my students, and I have a frame of reference for the music that they listen to and these artists that they look up to. But then when they ask me, like, you listen to so and so, or have you heard this new album? And then I tell them, no, I'm married to an MC, and because I'm married to an MC, he doesn't allow me to listen to that kind of stuff. He makes sure that I always have the real hip hop in my ear to keep me grounded and keep me able to do what I do. And they like, so you be letting them tell you what to do? And I'm
Right.
like, no, it's not like that. I'm like, I listen to what y'all listen to just for the frame of reference. But if I'm holding true to myself, which is always, important, which is the main piece of your message, holding true to yourself, then I gotta listen to what speaks to me. I gotta listen to what motivates me. And if I'm in the middle of doing like paperwork or something important, I don't want to hear about, selling drugs or, having casual sex, and I don't want that in my ear. I might want some Big Daddy Kane or, some Tribe Called Quest, because it's keeping me grounded and it's making me think. So trying to
Right.
get them to see that there are certain times for certain kinds of music. None of your music is wrong, but there are certain times to listen to your hype, get up music. You're getting ready for school. You
Right.
want to be pumped up. But when you're studying, that's probably not the best thing to listen to. And
Right.
again, you talked about, what you listen to. And Saul Williams has a great poem and a great piece that he talks about. Your diet is more than what you eat. It's about what
Right.
you feed yourself. It's about what you listen to. It's about what you give your attention to. So that's really important for our youth. And I'm glad that you share that message that essentially your diet is more than just what you're eating. It's about what you're
Mm-hmm.
listening to, who you're connected to, who you're watching. That is, I have give you mad props for that, because that is what they need to see and what they need to hear. That the stuff you see on TV and the stuff you hear about isn't real life. So let me show you what the real is. At the end of the day, you have to think, act, and be successful on your own accord. So
Yep.
that's
Yep.
just that's incredible.
And I think more
Or
schools should teach, and again, this would require us to establish our own schools to teach the power of music and where it originated from. Because most youth, they love the music that they love, not so much because of the message, but because of the hertz, right? The amount of hertz per beat. And most you, I was listening to this podcast, no, YouTube video yesterday, and it said the rap industry have mastered how to create a beat at a particular hertz that will cause the individual, upon receiving a sound wave, to feel a certain type of way, to think a certain type of way. So these youth
yeah,
think they are feeling the way that they are because of the music or because they are creating these feelings. No, it is that music, that beat, that 808 that got them
The
feeling the way that they're
programming
feeling and
that
going out
people
doing
always
right.
talking about.
Right. Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. So
It's frequency,
frequency.
frequency.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. So if
and go ahead, brother.
now I was going to say if they were educated through those lenses, I think that some more of them would run away from from the type of music that they listen to, because they come to the realization, wait, I'm being controlled.
Hmm.
I'm being controlled.
Hmm. Yeah, and I talk about that a lot. I'm an avid reader of metaphysics and consciousness, and looking at different studies. There's a group called the Tavistock Institute that wrote a
Mm-hmm.
book many years ago, and many years ago, 20, 30, 40 years ago, they discovered that you can control it's the populace, especially the youth, through music, through frequencies, and like you said, megahertz.
Mm-hmm.
um it opens different channels of your mind and allows people to give you different programming. We all know, if you have studied anything about programming and subliminal messages, that if commercially, subliminal messages have always been planted in commercials and movies and things of that nature. And like you said, if the youth are aware that, it might steer them into something else that they are not accustomed to. And if we collectively come together and start giving them more options,
Right.
and I
Right.
always talk about like that, Cardi B, Meg The Stallion, and whoever has their place. But the
Right.
problem with music today is there's no balance. Back in my day, when you would watch Rap City or BET or MTV or Pump It Up, you would see NWA, but right afterwards you would see Tribe Called Quest. Then you would
Right.
see DJ Quick, and then you would see De La Soul. So they gave you a balance. You had options, and now it seems that the programming, all the music is on the same frequency or megahertz, like you said. Um,
Right.
so there's no
Same
differential.
message, a different person.
Exactly, exactly. So we're about coming to our time, but before we get out of here, one thing I want to say is let the people know how they can get in touch with you as far as your speaking engagements and
Mhm.
mentorship and things like that.
Yeah, so you can visit me at BMC, B as in boy, M as in Mary, C as in cat, movement.com. Movement being M as in mom, V as in Victor, M as in mom, M as in Nancy, T as in Tom.com. So BMC movement, movement without the vowels. Again, bmcmovement.com. And then on Instagram at BMC underscore movement. And you'll find all of my content. You'll find links to my clothing line, to my media outlet, and to my speaking page. So it's all up there, free, uh, accessible to the public, for the purposes of rebuilding our community, and inspiring youth. So yeah.
Word up, word up. And for this week, our self care assignment is going to be mentor a youth. Take time to mentor youth. It doesn't have to be in a professional aspect. If you have a nephew, a little young cousin, please take the time to mentor them. It could just be if whatever your avenue is. If you're a person that's into fashion, mentor them on fashion. If your person is into music, mentor them on music that they might not be privy to. If you're an educator, express the importance of education. So this week's self-care assignment is find a youth, related or non-related, and mentor them in some aspect. And before we get out of here, let's get into my favorite part of the show. Doom, 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 doom. Brain science, science, science.
All right, so this week our brain science is tapping into our brains and the neuroscience of success through mentoring. So, how positive mentors help us tap into that success. So, one kind of support is required to help students succeed in high school and beyond. It's a good question that we often ask ourselves, but it isn't one that's always easy to answer. Study after study suggests that having a mentor, loosely defined as a trusted, experienced individual who can guide students toward their long-term goals and objectives, can make the difference. So, according to Mentor, the National Mentoring Partnership Organization, young adults who have a mentor are more likely to actively participate in school, to have better attitudes about education, to perform positive social relationships, and to graduate from high school, and also to enroll in college after graduation. In fact, more than 1 in 3 students at risk of not graduating from high school grew up without an adult mentor. Yet, new research suggests that mentoring can make a positive impact in the lives of our youth. So, Anthony Jack, who is the director of the Brain, Mind, and Consciousness Lab at Case Western University in Cleveland, Ohio, big Ohio status, says that the way that one approaches mentoring matters just as much as having a mentor in the first place. People approach mentoring and coaching in different ways. One part has to do with positively reinforcing and engaging a mentee's aspirations and goals, and the other has to do with identifying problems and weaknesses. The second one is a negative style, which is not good for the youth that we have today. So, individuals who receive the positive mentoring show strong activation in brain regions involved with positive effect, stress reduction, and future planning. So what we see is that how mentors help their mentees focus and how they make them think is important. When you focus on the positive and looking for the future, you are affecting quite a lot of neural processing. You're putting them into a different mental state than you are simply pointing out what's wrong. We have seen that people change much more effectively when they are given positive feedback, positive reinforcement, i.e., think of your paycheck. If you are paid more, you perform better, you are happier at work, you do a better job. Instead of your boss telling you, this is wrong, that's wrong, we don't typically respond to that. So we have lots of organizations, of course, that have mentoring, and they have defined the top 5 key attributes critical to mentoring success. So reciprocity, mutual respect, clear expectations, personal connection, and shared values. This work suggests that having a strong connection personally and professionally can help individuals achieve their goals, and that's likely true whether it's a high school student or a medical doctor. A single positive connection can help students learn, grow, and vision a successful future. And as it turns out, you don't always have to be face to face. With the advent of technology, we can do this through Zoom, text messages, etc. So you don't always have to like, go pick up a kid, take them somewhere, and mentor them. You can mentor them just by simply connecting with them. So in the end, it only takes one person, in person, online, in the classroom, or on the job. One mentor, one positive connection to make a difference and help set up a student's brain for future opportunity and success. You can be that person. Get inspired by the mentors in your own life and mentor a youth's life for the better.
Word up.
Good stuff. Yeah, good stuff.
Word up. Well, thank you, Brian. Mr. Brian, we'd like to thank you for being a part of our show. Um, and we wish you success and continue doing the work that you do. If there's anything we can help to continue that work or promote that work, we would do it. And as always, you can find us anywhere you find your favorite podcast. We're on social media:
Hmm.
Facebook, IG, Twitter, and TikTok. So please connect with us, like, share, and subscribe to this video so that we can make a better future for our community. I'm your boy Picket Fence.
And I'm your girl, Lady Bounce.
We out of here. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.